Thanks. So that was a long, fancy title. So what I'm going to talk to you guys about today is cybersecurity. And this is the agenda that we're going to talk about. First off, for cybersecurity, there's four things I want to cover. First is malware. The second is our targeted attacks. Third is insider threats. And the fourth are supply chain attacks. Now, risks. We're going to talk about risks. It's like, where are your risks? And specifically, what are the consequences of risks? Then I'm going to talk about some solutions for large companies and then solutions for smaller companies. Now, before I start, let's all get aligned on some things, like what is cybersecurity? So cybersecurity is basically what you do to protect your networks, your infrastructure, your services, your devices, right? Now, what is cyber resilience? Cyber resilience is your ability or your company's ability to withstand and recover from a cyber incident or cyber attack. Then what is cyber risk? So risk is whatever is that exposes you and your company to any danger, loss, or any harm. So with that, my name's Yang Xu. My real name, my Chinese name is Xu Yonghua. So you might ask, well, how do you get Yang Xu from Xu Yonghua? Well, it's very simple. I grew up in the United States. I went to American schools. So whenever I started a new class when I was young, the teacher would read out, she'd see my name and she'd say, Young Su, Young Hisu, even Young Hus. And so I said, no, it's Yonghua, that's my name. And they'd say, but it's spelled Young. So finally I gave up. So now you can call me Young, you can call me Yonghua, whatever. I'm good with either one. So I work for Microsoft, I'm a senior director. I work for the cloud organization. So Daniel Xiao over there works for the devices organization. Microsoft is a very large, very complicated company with a lot of services. We have many supply chains. Daniel's organization manages the supply chain for hardware devices, all the Surface devices, all the Xbox devices. That organization manufactures and ships them. So my organization is a little bit more complex. So my organization actually has multiple supply chains. We have a digital supply chain. We actually make Windows. We make software. We have services. We also have a hardware supply chain that manufactures all of the servers that goes into the data centers that powers a lot of the services that you use with Office, with Copilot, Xbox Live. One of my main roles here is I don't work for the cloud supply chain, that's another team. My role, one of my roles, is trying to align all of the supply chains across Microsoft, all of the physical supply chains across Microsoft onto a single set of strong requirements, processes, and reporting. So prior to Microsoft, or I started my career actually a long time ago in law enforcement. So I was a deputy sheriff in Los Angeles County. The United States has a very complicated law enforcement system. So you have federal police or federal law enforcement such as the FBI, then you have state police, and then you have county, and then you have city. So for me, I was in Los Angeles County. I was in the sheriff's department. So for here, a county would be like, I don't think it's like a shen, it's more like a xian, like Los Angeles Xian. And the head of the agency, like in the old Western movies, was the sheriff, the jingzang. So I was a deputy sheriff, fu jingzang, right? So the last 12 years, well, there's actually 10,000 of us, 10,000 fu jingzang. So for the last 12 years of the sheriff's department, I was a detective on the cargo theft task force, the Asian crime task force, the auto theft task force, and then the computer crimes task force. Then 2011, Apple hired me away to work in global security as an investigator on their investigations team. And then in 2013, Microsoft recruited me away to build out an investigations program for their Xbox group, which managed their whole supply chain for Microsoft. And then from there, I took on more responsibilities, and here we are today. So technology is great. It's brought us to this place now where we do business so easily, so fast. We communicate over the internet. We get orders over the internet. we get shipping data all over the internet. So it's helped us and our businesses. But concurrent with that, the criminals have adapted too. They have become more sophisticated. So the frauds that we used to see that were all done in person or by paper, we see it's all done digitally. Now, we try to do whatever we can with technology to prevent these thefts from happening or these issues from happening. We put tracking devices in our cargo, but yet they take steps to try to overcome our efforts. So this is a GPS and cell phone jamming device. Crooks are using that now. We're seeing that more and more. Started in Central and South America. We're now seeing it in the US. Frauds. I think the professor just now talked about frauds. Frauds is hitting our supply chains as well. So now in the US especially, when we ship product, when we hire a supplier out to ship product, a lot of times that's done over the internet. We're seeing frauds where criminals pretend to be a carrier, go out and bid on a project or a load. They will go out, pick up the load, pretending to be this legitimate carrier, and then drive away with it and are gone. But that's the regular type of fraud. Now we're going to talk about the real cyber type of crimes that I mentioned, starting with malware. So you're going to see quite a bit of things I pulled off of the news, or in this case, this is a public statement. These are all partners of ours. I'm not here to try to embarrass anybody. These are actual legitimate incidences, and my hope is that you'll see these and it'll actually get you thinking when you go back to your companies and think, wow, if it happened to them, it can happen to us. So hopefully, my hope is that you will go, after this session, go back to your companies and take steps, if you guys don't have it already, to really try to address some of these risks that I lay out today. So this is TSMC. Are y'all familiar with TSMC? Anybody not familiar with TSMC? Right? So they make chips, Taiwan-based company. So they got hit by malware on their production line. It shut down their production line for quite a bit of time. They're a big partner of ours. So it affected not just us, but a lot of large companies. So how did this happen? Well, probably because one of the machines on the production line was being updated by probably USB stick or something similar that was infected with malware, got plugged into that device to update or transfer files, and then that malware jumped from machine to machine, shutting down the line. Okay? Ransomware, not just manufacturers. That TSMC was a manufacturer. These are, again, big partners of ours. We were very much affected. These are freight forwarders, global freight forwarders. They were shut down. Our cargo was stuck. We couldn't move our cargo that was in transit. How did this happen? Well, malware again. This is ransomware in this case. So ransomware is malware that when it gets transferred into your device, in your network, in your system, locks up your system completely. And the only way to unlock it is if you contact the criminals, pay them the ransom that they want. Depending on the size of your company, it could be many millions of dollars. And then they will give you an unlock code to let you access your data again. Insider threats. So this is when an insider, somebody that you trust within your company, does something to damage your service, your network, or steal something. These are all incidences, real incidences, costing their employers millions, multi-millions to recover from. Anybody watch The Wire? Nobody watched The Wire? This is like the best police show ever. I was a policeman. I watched the show and I go, wow, this is the best show ever. So this is Frank Sabatka in The Wire. So in the show, he plays the lead or the head of a union at the dock. And this union sometimes steals containers. So what they'll do is they'll take a container that they want, that they've identified, and then they will hide it in the system, and then they'll drive it off the lot and it just disappears. So you look at this, you go, wow, TV show, hey, fantastic, won't happen in real life, right? From 2011 to 2013, this is in the port of Antwerp in Brussels. No, Belgium, sorry, Belgium. A Dutch gang would smuggle drugs into the port of Antwerp using containers. They hacked into the port of Antwerp's computer system. They would identify where the containers are at. Then they, before the legitimate truck driver goes to pick it up, they would have their own truck driver go in, pick up the load, and then it disappears. Real life incident, took the police 2 years to bust, and they got millions and millions of dollars in addition to, I think it was a ton of narcotics out of this gang. Real life incident. Targeted attacks. I talked about malware through USB sticks. This is a big problem that we face all the time. Crooks will email you or your employees asking you to click links. You click the link, they download a file, or you download a file, it infects your system. Or it steals your credentials. Either way, you're hacked. Spoofing, something similar. They might email you or they might call you. When we talked about AI, somebody could pretend they're the CEO, call you up using their voice. So they spoof and get you to do something. And that's a targeted attack because they're actually going after you. SolarWinds, this is the supply chain attack. SolarWinds is a piece of software. A lot of companies use SolarWinds to manage their networks. So hackers were able to access the digital supply chain of this company, insert their own malicious code into this commercial software that a lot of their customers downloaded and installed, which then opened up backdoors in all of these companies' networks, including us, including the government, and other enterprise customers. So this is a supply chain attack. So those are all the risks. But where are your risks? Well, it's everywhere your business runs, right? In your facilities, your IT infrastructure, your people. Now, a big one is with your suppliers and partners. A supply chain is an end-to-end supply chain. It is not a segment of it. It's not just securing you and your company. So if you want to secure your supply chain from cybersecurity risks, you need to secure the end-to-end supply chain, including all your suppliers and vendors that work with you. Consequences. I think we talked quite a bit about consequences, so I'll kind of skip over it. But ultimately, if you get hacked, if you end up in the news, the reputational damage, I mean, not just mention the loss of data or loss of product, your reputational damage to your brand, loss of business is huge, potentially even catastrophic. So for us, how do we attack this problem? So we looked at security requirements and security association standards across the world, around the world. We looked at all of our contracts. We looked at RFPs, RFQs. What are companies, especially enterprise and governments, asking us to do? We took those requirements, we built it, or those standards, we built it into our requirements. So we built out strong requirements that we've implemented across our physical supply chain. We conduct in-person supplier audits and assessments. We have regular supplier engagements, and we are now reporting we will be reporting as an aligned entity across all organizations. Externally, we've partnered with our peers in the tech industry to share data, to share information, and to basically share best practices. So we are now working together. So TAPA is great. TAPA is a cargo association. So for the tech industry, we're doing the same thing. And hopefully, this is a partnership. The biggest one that I want to talk about is industry engagement and influence, which is part of the reason why I'm here today. So there's a very good possibility that some of you, or potentially even many of you, will become partners or even suppliers. And what we've noticed, is, especially with a lot of our suppliers, is security is transactional. Right? Security is something that we have to pay for. It's not part of the process. We pay you to ship something. We pay you to make something. Oh, okay, you want more security? Then you have to pay for it. One of our goals is to raise the bar, educate everybody so that when you guys work with us, you're already at that level. For small businesses, a lot of information on the internet. This is like things that not good to do, but things that you should do. And then other things that, other considerations that a lot of the other companies have talked about. So with that, I think I'm out of time. Any questions? No? Cool.